Hey. Welcome back to Pod Chill, the place where learning English doesn't make your brain cry. I'm Leo, professional troublemaker, part-time life enthusiast.
And I'm Gwen, here to make sure this podcast still has some educational value.
All right, serious question. How long have you been learning English? 3 years? 5? 10? But when a native speaker talks at full speed, you're just there like, yes, very good.
Trust me, you're not alone. Millions of learners spend thousands of hours studying English. And when real-life conversations happen, boom, brain freeze.
And maybe, just maybe, it's because they're using the wrong methods.
Today, we're diving into the most common mistakes people make when learning English and how to fix them.
If you want to know, continue to watch till the end. All right, buckle up, let's go.
All right, mistake number 1, memorizing vocabulary in isolation.
Class, today, copy down 50 new words. Memorize them. Test tomorrow. The flashbacks.
Yeah, we've all been there. Have you ever spent hours writing down endless word lists? Flashcards covering your entire desk? Honestly, it feels productive, right? Watching your vocabulary grow fast.
Yeah, it's like leveling up in a video game. I've memorized 500 words. I'm unstoppable. But then, you actually try to speak, and it's like, apple, eat, good.
Exactly, because our brains don't store words one by one like items in a warehouse. We remember words in context, in real situations.
It's like you know the word kick, sure. But when someone says kick the bucket, you think they're literally kicking a bucket.
So, when you memorize isolated words without real context, it leads to 2 big problems. The first thing is that you forget them quickly. Secondly, even if you remember, you use them wrong, and that gets awkward fast.
I remember back in school, during my English speaking test, I tried to show off my vocabulary knowledge. I said something like, I like swimming because muscles, water, happy. The examiner looked at me like I was an alien.
Yep, you know the words, but they don't come together naturally.
If you're listening and thinking, wait, that's me? Don't worry. Later, we'll show you how to actually lock vocabulary into your brain the right way.
Moving on. Mistake number 2. Grammar first obsession.
Gwen, why does English have 12 tenses? And what in the world is present perfect continuous?
Yep, sounds familiar. A lot of traditional teaching focuses heavily on grammar. Rules, exceptions, technicalities. Step by step, one chapter at a time.
It's like back in middle school, when we had to memorize stuff like, if I had, I would have had. And I just lost the will to live.
Exactly. It sounds more like robot language than human communication. And the real issue? Overloading on grammar kills your confidence.
Right. You get stuck thinking about the perfect sentence instead of actually speaking. By the time you figure out the right tense, the conversation's over.
Or worse, you start fearing English because it feels way too complicated.
Have you ever known all the grammar rules? But when you had to speak, your brain just blanked out? If yes, congratulations, you're officially normal.
So, what do you think the next mistake is, Leo?
Many people have difficulty learning English through books, right?
Yeah, and the next mistake is textbook English versus real English.
Wait. You're telling me the English I learned from textbooks, like, hello, my name is Robert. I'm going to the supermarket to purchase groceries, isn't how people actually talk?
Nope. Sorry, Leo. In real life, it's more like, hey, I'm heading to the store. Wanna come?
Wait. No wonder when I spoke, people thought I was acting in an old movie.
Not that dramatic, but close. The truth is, real spoken English is full of slang, idioms, contractions, and it's way more casual than textbook English.
I once tried speaking proper textbook English to a native speaker, and I swear, they looked at me like I just landed from Mars.
Exactly. When you only learn from textbooks, you might sound overly formal, robotic, or just weird.
And worst of all, you might not even understand when people talk naturally. Because real conversations are messy, fast, full of shortcuts.
So later, we'll show you how to actually get used to real English, not the fantasy version. And last mistake for this section, app addiction.
Guilty. Who else here has grinded English apps like crazy? Level 100 on Duolingo? Felt like a champion. But when I traveled to Singapore, I looked at the restaurant menu like it was written in ancient code.
What an unforgettable experience, huh?
It was so embarrassing that I can't forget it. Actually, there's even research about this. A study from Language Learning and Technology Journal found that while apps boost vocabulary, they often fail to improve real-world speaking skills unless combined with live interaction.
Exactly. Apps are great for quick practice. But if you rely only on apps, you miss real conversations. You repeat the same patterns over and over, and your skills grow unevenly.
It's like being amazing at Guitar Hero. But when someone hands you a real guitar, you're just holding it upside down like, help?
Right. In fact, another report by Education First showed that students who used only apps scored significantly lower in real speaking skills, compared to those who practiced speaking with real people.
So yeah, apps are awesome sidekicks, but they're not superheroes. Treat them like your assistant, not your whole team.
All right, now that we've roasted the common mistakes, it's time for the good stuff. How do you actually learn English effectively?
Yes, let's cook.
You know, vocabulary feels like this giant mountain at first. So many words, right? But what nobody tells you is the way you collect those words matters a lot more than how many you cram into your brain.
Totally. If you just memorize random words from a list, it's like trying to fill your backpack with water. It leaks immediately.
Exactly. That's why we strongly recommend learning vocabulary through collocations, common word combinations, and through full contexts like sentences or even little paragraphs.
I remember reading this 2019 Cambridge study. They actually found that students who learned vocabulary through phrases remembered 42% more after a month than those who just memorized single words.
That's huge, right? And honestly, it makes sense. Think about the word make. Alone, it's so abstract. But if you learn it with phrases like make a decision, make a mistake, make friends, now you get how it naturally lives and breathes in real conversations.
And you'll start sounding way more natural, too. No more robot English like I made mistake yesterday. You'll actually feel how native speakers move through sentences.
One little trick that really helped me back when I was studying, every new word I learned, I would immediately find at least 2 real sentences using it.
Oh yes. Sometimes I'd even make up a little story. Like say I learned terrified. Instead of just writing terrified means very scared, I'd imagine, I was terrified when I saw the huge spider on my pillow. I screamed so loud that my neighbor thought I was being attacked. Now terrified is burned into my brain forever.
And it sticks because it's connected to emotions. You're not just processing words, you're living them.
Yeah. And speaking of memory tricks, storytelling is powerful. If you can weave 5 new words into one crazy story, I promise you'll remember them 10 times longer. Your brain loves fun and silly things. Boring stuff, it just forgets it like yesterday's lunch. But if you make the word exciting or weird in your mind, you'll remember it way longer.
Like what?
Like, imagine you're learning the word launch. Instead of just reading it once and yawning, picture a giant sandwich being launched into space by a team of ants wearing tiny astronaut suits.
Cool. Sounds crazy, right? But now, you'll never forget the word launch again.
Yeah, the weirder and funnier you make it, the stickier it gets in your brain. But seriously, start telling stories, not just making boring lists. It feels silly at first, but it works.
And if you're a visual learner like me, try visualizing ridiculous images when you learn new words.
Yeah, like if you're learning chaos, don't just think chaos means mess. Imagine your room exploding with balloons, goats running around, your alarm clock dancing on the table. It's crazy, but that's the point.
That sounds interesting, Leo. Make your memory work for you, not against you.
All right, vocabulary is just the beginning. Now, let's talk about something a lot of learners struggle with. Grammar.
I know, grammar sounds scary, but it doesn't have to be. The trick is to stop treating grammar like a giant rule book you have to memorize.
Instead, you learn it through patterns. Real useful patterns that people actually use when they speak.
Definitely. According to Dr. James Milton's research in 2020, just 20% of common sentence patterns cover about 80% of everyday conversations.
So if you master the basics like I'm used to, would you mind if, how about we, you're already halfway there.
And honestly, it's way less stressful. Instead of thinking, oh no, past perfect continuous passive voice, you just recognize the pattern and roll with it.
Like think in chunks.
Hey, wait a sec. You might be wondering what exactly are chunks, right? Chunks are natural word combinations that native speakers use all the time.
Yeah, let's take an example. Not he plus past tense verb plus object. No, just he made a mistake.
Or catch a cold. By the way, maybe even take your time. Whole chunk. Whole meaning.
Instead of learning word by word, we learn in phrases. That way, when you speak, it sounds smoother and more natural.
Exactly. It's like music. You don't play note by note. You play full melodies.
And one big mindset shift. Focus on communicating first, polish your grammar later.
Yes. When you were a toddler learning your first language, you weren't worried about getting every tense perfect. You just wanted candy.
Welcome to Real World English. If you only ever study from textbooks, your English will sound like, well, a textbook. You need to soak your brain in real English. Movies with subtitles, podcasts, Instagram captions, news articles.
And it's backed by science too. A study from the University of Helsinki found that students who expose themselves to real English content about 5 hours a week improved their listening and speaking skills by 67% in just 6 months.
And honestly, it makes total sense. Language isn't just rules, it's rhythm, feeling, culture.
Exactly. Watching Friends or listening to TED Talks teaches you the little things: intonation, slang, jokes, sarcasm, stuff textbooks can never teach you properly.
But of course, balance is key. Don't throw away your grammar books completely.
Right. Use them like your training wheels. Then ride freely with real English once you're confident.
And now, apps. Everyone loves apps these days, right?
Duolingo, Memrise, Quizlet, Babbel, you name it.
Apps are great if you use them the right way.
Right? Don't treat an app like your full school. It's just your assistant, not your professor.
So the app should be your snack, not your main meal.
Yeah, use apps to fix specific weak points like vocabulary recall or quick grammar drills. But don't forget to actually speak, listen, read, and write outside of the app world. Real conversations beat perfect scores on a quiz app any day.
And trust me, nobody ever said, wow, your English is amazing. You must be level 24 on Duolingo.
We all know, huh? So to sum it up, learn in chunks, live through context, use grammar patterns, connect with real English, and let apps help, not control you.
So we've talked about vocabulary, grammar, real-world English, and using apps wisely. But honestly, Gwen, even if you know all that, it still doesn't matter if you're too scared to open your mouth.
Oh yes, the big invisible wall, fear. First thing first, lower your expectations.
Yup, stop aiming for perfect English. Aim for communication.
I mean, think about it. When you learned your first language as a kid, did you speak it perfectly? Of course not. You made funny mistakes all the time. And nobody cared.
When I was little, I used to say aminal instead of animal. Nobody arrested me for bad vocabulary.
That's adorable. See? Mistakes are natural.
And actually, if you're not making mistakes, it probably means you're not pushing yourself enough.
So, one really practical tip. Start speaking early even when you feel you're not ready. Even if it's just talking to yourself in your room.
Nobody was born fluent. Everyone started to get scared.
We believe in you.
Okay, Gwen, before we send our listeners off to practice like champions, let's break down a few useful words from today's episode.
Yep. These words come up a lot when we talk about learning English, so let's make sure they stick.
First word, chunk. A chunk is a group of words that naturally go together.
Take your time is a common chunk in English. Don't try to learn it word by word. Next is collocation. It's a type of chunk, two or more words that often appear together.
Example. We say make a mistake, not do a mistake. That's a collocation. Third word, context. It means the situation or sentence where a word is used.
Example. You remember words better when you learn them in context, like in a short story or a real conversation. Fourth word, fluent. It means speaking a language smoothly and easily.
Example. You don't need perfect grammar to be fluent. You just need to be confident and clear. Last one, real-world English. That's how people actually talk in everyday life, not textbook style.
Example. Want to grab lunch? His real-world English. Would you like to have a meal together? Not so much. Okay, now it's your turn, but we'll go first, as always.
Yep. First question. Which mistake from today's episode do you relate to the most? For me, it's definitely memorizing vocabulary in isolation. I used to write down 100 words a day and forget 99 of them.
Mine's grammar obsession. I used to panic about every little mistake. Now I focus on communication first. Second question, which new method are you most excited to try next? I'm all about learning chunks and collocations. It just makes everything smoother.
I'm gonna lean into storytelling. If I can make it funny or weird, I know I'll remember it. Now it's your turn. Drop your answers in the comments.
We'd love to know what mistake you've made and how you're going to fix it. So, after everything we've talked about today, one thing's clear. You don't have to waste months or years learning the hard way.
Yeah, you're smarter than that. You've got the map now. Use these methods, and you'll get where you want to be faster and have a lot more fun along the way.
And remember, real progress happens when you connect English to real life, to real emotions, to real conversations.
Use these methods, believe in yourself. And one day soon, you'll realize you're not just learning English anymore, you're living it.
Thank you for hanging out with us today. We're cheering for you every step of the way.
Keep learning smart, keep dreaming big, and hey, we'll see you in the next episode.